the saloon, there are doors at both sides of the vessel, or you can exit through the sliding windows. The upper deck is easily accessible by steps either side of the lobby. In the unlikely event of an emergency, the captain will give you full instructions. For your own safety, and in particular for any young children on board, please remain seated as much as possible.
So welcome aboard your one-way trip. Our boat will be arriving in Southend in approximately 2.5 hours' time. We will drop you off at Southend. Now, our boat will not be returning to London, so if you do require return tickets, you can purchase them from the pier ticket office. The next boat back this evening is at 9 o'clock tonight, which will get you back into London for 11 p.m. I'm only joking! Welcome aboard the 45-minute London Eye River Cruise! Just making sure everyone's awake in this very hot sun. Hello! I'm gonna come down and give you all the cheesy wave at the front of the boat. Hiya! Guys, help and safety things to get started. Well, first of all, my name is Liam. I'll be your tour guide for the next 40 minutes. Hello. Now, yeah. If you're on the upper deck, whichever it is, I do need to ask you to remain seated, please. No standing up to take photos, because if you do, you will block the captain's view. He's driving the boat from behind you, and it's really important he sees where he's going. We don't want any Titanic moments, do we? Speaking of which, if I see a Jack and Rose flying at the front of the boat, I'm going to shut you off. You've been warned. Now, pandemic-wise, obviously the rules have now changed. We would still recommend you keep your masks on, even on the upper deck, and this is because of the way the wind is going to be blowing around you all. Obviously it's a different situation now, so it's entirely your choice. I'll be keeping my mask on for the entirety of the journey, that's what I'll say. There is also hand sanitizer provided down the stairs, and also, if you require any assistance, you can talk to my colleague Sheila. She's happy to help you out if anything you may need. She's currently located on the lower deck. Otherwise, though, guys, we're going to have a really good tour, so let's kick off by looking at this absolutely stunning and beautiful building you can see right now. It is one of the highlights of the cruise today, isn't it? Get your cameras out. St Thomas's Hospital over on the left. Now, of course, you've got the Palace of Westminster on the right-hand side, the Houses of Parliament, completed in the 1860s and neo-Gothic design, designed by Gus's Fusion and Charles Barry. Under the top row of windows are coats of arms. Each one's unique, and they represent a different aristocratic family in England and in Wales. Lower down, the Lord's Prayer is carved into the stonework of the building. It runs all the way around it, and is meant to act as a barrier or ward to keep out evil and malicious intent. So it's not actually working. The largest flag flying from it is the Victoria Tower, in which the ballot papers are stored for a year after a general election before being burnt and destroyed. As we're turning around, do we have any James Bond fans on board? Give me a big woo! Well, if you look to the right, through the centre archway of Lambeth Bridge, there's a sandy coloured building with a row of green trees in front of it. That is MI6. That's the one that blows up in the film Skyfall. Hashtag spoilers. And that's where James Bond, Money Penny, are at the moment. Did you hear about the time Sean Connery got knocked out in his own house? Yeah, a bunch of books fell and hit him on the head, knocked him out. He was interviewed about it afterwards and he said, well, I can only blame myself. Daniel Craig, of course, from the famous scene as James Bond. He came racing down the river on a speedboat. He actually got flung from the boat. He was asked if he was alright. He said, it's okay. He was shaken, not stirred. Let's go back to the Houses of Parliament. Now, the medieval palace burnt down in 1834. You can still see some of the medieval sections though. Those steps that were going into the water are Blackroad steps. Now, hundreds of years ago, if you were coming down them, you would have been found guilty of treason. You'd be shoved into a waterman's boat and rowed down the river to the Tower of London to get your head chopped off. Guy Fawkes would have come down those steps in 1605 after he was caught underneath the Houses of Parliament with 36 barrels of gunpowder ready to blow up with King James's side. Remember, the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I can think no reason gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. 3 years of drama school, how good was that, right? Let me see, I'm unviable. Let's wave to the members of Parliament that might be in there right now. There might be members of Parliament there, give them a wave, or give them any other hand gesture you deem appropriate. I will not judge. Big Ben. I will say Big Ben until the end of the tour, because I want to keep you all in a little bit of suspense. So instead, let's look to the left. You've got this red brick building with the white stripes. Now this is Old Scotland Yard. Next to you, you've got the white building, that is New Scotland Yard. The big tree in between the two buildings with the branches coming from it is Special Branch. You have got a lot of evidence inside Old Scotland Yard from throughout the years. Most infamously, the unsolved Jack the Ripper case files. London's most canonical 5 victims. It could be more, could have been less. Personally, I think it was 6, but I'm no criminologist. We'll probably never know who Jack the Ripper was unless some very hardcore evidence rocks up. They were actually doing DNA testing on a shawl that apparently belonged to Catherine Eddowes, his 4th victim, but we'll never know for sure, and I don't think anything ever came of that. Now, in front of us, you've got the Hungerford Railway Bridge with the Golden Jubilee footbridges either side. The designs look similar in architectural style to the London Eye. They were delayed in their opening back in 2002 due to an unexploded World War II bomb found lying underneath the river. The bridges run into Charing Cross Station over on the left. Take a look at Charing Cross Station for me. It's meant to represent something. Any ideas what? People often say to me, Liam, it looks like a poster or a jukebox or the Batman symbol. One lovely man once said, it looks like my wife giving birth. Lovely. Well, absolutely, it's meant to look like a steam train coming out of a tunnel. Do you see that? No, you guy. Area Charing Cross is named after one of a number of crosses sent to the funeral procession of Eleanor Pasquill, the wife of King Edward I, Edward Longshanks. He's very tall, apparently. He's 6'2", which is quite tall, especially back in the 1200s. Also known as the Hammer of the Scots because he was fighting with William Wallace and King Robert the Bruce. And also, he was in Conquered Wales. It's very popular here, not very popular anywhere else. Over on the right, you've got the South Bank Centre. It was built for the Festival of Great Britain back in 1951. And it was meant to raise the spirits of the people of London after the Second World War. You've got the Royal Festival Hall over there, home to the London Philharmonic Orchestra. You've also got the Queen Elizabeth Hall and the Purcell Rooms. It's a beautiful part of the city to go for a walk in, a lot of nice bars and restaurants and cafes. Also, the world's first skateboarding park is over there. And on the left is the Savoy Hotel, that white building with the green roof and the flag. Very fancy hotel, 1920s art deco inside. First hotel to ever have electronic lights and elevators. It was very British. £12,000 a night for some of the rooms at the Savoy. Minimum of a 3-night stay. Now for that you get your own butler, your own living room, and you sleep on bed sheets which have been hand stitched with unicorn here by leprechauns. So that would be something like that for that man. On the right, you've got the Royal National Theatre, and it's ugly. It looks like a multi-storey car park. In fact, Prince Charles said he's got that building linked to like the back end of a nuclear power station. It's much prettier on the inside. We've got 3 theatre spaces in there. The largest one being the Liberty Theatre, named after the actor and first artistic director of the National, Sir Lawrence Levy. Tickets from as cheap as about £15 to watch a performance in there, which for the centre of London is really quite fantastic. Or if theatre's not really your thing, if you're more of a television fan, you might be excited about the white building behind the green trees on the right. That is the ITV Studios. Now, for those people on board who do not know, ITV brings us all of our very intellectual and educational television shows like Jeremy Kyle, Take Me Out, and Zed's Saturday Night Takeaway, and the god-awful Love Island. In fact, you see this beach on the right-hand side? That is London's 5-star beach resort, Gabriel's Wharf, Costa del Thames. Who needs to go to Mallorca when we've got that? And that is where they film Love Island. The wonders of CGI. Those people down there on the beach right now, sunbathing, building sandcastles, and catching typhoid from the water. You then got this red brick building with the white stripes on the right-hand side. That is the Oxo Warehouses, the meat production facility for the Oxo stock cubes back in the 1920s and 30s. Take a look at the tower at the top of the building. What do you think it says? If you think it says Oxo, you're wrong. That's because we are floating on royal waters. This is a royal highway. And therefore, to advertise your company name on the River Thames without permission is illegal. In the 1930s, Oxo were taken to court for building that tower, and what we said to the judge was, we are not advertising our company name. All we have done is order windows in a random series of geometric shapes. We just so happen to get circles and crosses. So if you think it says Oxo, that's all in your mind. And the judge went, oh, wait, they got away with it. Yes. We like to nickname our skyscrapers in London. We've got a little bit of a thing about it. So you see the big coloured shiny skyscraper on the right? Londoners have just come up with a nickname for it. They are calling it the Kardashian. Bridge you're going underneath, Blackfriars Bridge, so called because it used to be a Dominican priory on the north bank of the river, and the friars here were black clothes, hence the term Blackfriars. It's been that priory that only really anybody's supposed to, it was first by Captain Bargain. Later on, the priory was moved under the dissolution of monasteries with the broke away from Roman maidens, so been head of the Church of England. Oh, and what are these mysterious red clothes, Leo? These are red clothes. We did a Thames version of Stonehenge. It is sponsored by Coca-Cola. It is a very, very mysterious story, a tale of adventure and mystery and high escapades. And I'm not going to tell you. On the right, you've got the Tate Modern Art Museum. It used to be the Bankside Power Station, but that big chimney up there was causing too much pollution. It is now one of the most famous modern art museums in the world. So if you like modern art, that's the place to go. If you don't like modern art, do not worry, they've got a bar at the top. And on the left, the dome of St Paul's Cathedral, 365 feet high, that's one for every day of the year, became the tallest building in London up until the 1960s. Designed by the architect Sir Christopher Wren, and replaced the last St Paul's which burnt down during the Great Fire of London. Many famous events have taken place in there, including the marriage of Princess Diana to Prince Charles, the funerals of Lord Nelson, Winston Churchill, most recently our first female Prime Minister, Baroness Margaret Thatcher. Christopher Wren himself is buried inside, and his epitaph reads, if you seek my monument, look around you. Martin Luther King also did a ceremony in there at one point. And little fact for you, Christopher Wren didn't want a golden cross at the top of St Paul's, he wanted a giant golden pineapple. In those days, pineapples were seen as a symbol of prosperity, but he was told absolutely not. Now, we're just going by the reconstruction of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre on the right-hand side. The original Globe stood just up in front of us, and it burnt down in 1613 when during the performance of Henry VIII, an actor fired a live cannon on stage. In a building made of wood with a thatched roof, what could go wrong? I think it's safe to say that actor was very quickly fired, because he wasn't a Bryce Park. But they had a blast. And the career ended with a bag. Well, at least he brought the house down. Second Globe Theatre was built but then ripped down by the Puritans. I'll tell you more about that modern Globe Theatre on the return. But this area on the right, the area of Southwark, if we were to go back in time to the days of William Shakespeare, this area was a den of debauchery and sin. You see, King Friend obviously now in London, you had your bear baiting, bullfighting, cockfighting, boxing, wrestling, gambling, and the occasional brothel and tavern. If you look to the right just now, you can see one of those taverns. It's the Anchor Pub. It's been there since 1615, so it's at the same location as the Bankside Tavern, which was there since the 1300s. Now, many famous people have had a pint in this pub, including Charles Dickens, Dr. Samuel Johnson, who wrote the dictionary, Samuel Pepys, of course, the Great Fire of London taking place in there, Tom Cruise from the last season Mission Impossible in there. I've been in there. Now that is a reconstruction of Francis Drake's Golden Hind. In 1577, Francis Drake set sail on the Golden Hind on a 3-year journey. When he came back, he was £25 million in today's money richer, having plundered all that money from the Spanish and the Portuguese. And he was not tried for piracy. Instead, Elizabeth I said, "Oh, well done," and then she had him knighted. And that's because all of that money went to pay off England's debts 3 times over. So if there's any Spanish or Portuguese on board today, I am very sorry about that. Why are pirates pirates? Because they are. Mike and a pirate never finish the alphabet. He always gets stuck at sea. Right, it's time for some audience participation. Woo! So what I want, stick your hands in the air like you just don't care. Oh, that's it. Now I want you to point on the count of 3 in the direction of the world famous London Bridge. 1, 2, 3, go! Oh, hands going everywhere. If you're pointing ahead of you, well done. Because you're wrong. That's terrible in terms of your London bridges that boring collection of concrete we just went underneath. It's not very pretty, is it? No. Don't want to humiliate anyone, but it did actually say London Bridge in very big writing as we went by. Don't worry if you got it wrong though, even Google Images gets it wrong. London Bridge. It was bought by a man named McCulloch, but was shipped out there brick by brick. Now the theory goes he thought he was buying Tower Bridge, so he might have been a little bit disappointed. We are going by the HMS Belfast on the right hand side. I will talk about it on the return. There's a round glass building coming up on the right, that is City Hall, up inscribed something like a beehive or an onion on my favourite Darth Vader's helmet, and that is where I'm near. Crown himself King Richard III. Did he have his nephew's murdered up to become king? We may never know for sure. Sadly, you cannot see the bloody tower from the boat because of the bloody trees. Now, as we sail underneath Tower Bridge, legend says that if we wave to people on the bridge, we will all get 5 years good luck. So start waving, start cheering, let's get our luck! Yay! If they spit on you, you get 10 years good luck. Nah, you don't want that, do you? Well, there you go. That is because that is the last bridge of sailors went under in the Victorian and Edwardian times on the way out to sea. Sometimes it can go for up to 5 years. And so the loved ones and sweethearts gathered on that bridge with a wee tear rolling down one cheek, a wee hanky in their hand, and waved their loved ones goodbye to wish them luck. Can I please hear a big aww? Thank you. Now as we turn around, you're going to get a photo opportunity you have all been desperate for. You get to take a selfie with me. Now you get an amazing photo opportunity of Tower Bridge. What is this? Personally, I think this is the best view of Tower Bridge in the whole of London. If you're putting these photos up on social media, please remember to tag us at LERC, London Eye River Cruise. We want to see them. Also, please remember all appropriate hashtags. They are hashtag Tower Bridge, hashtag not London Bridge, Fergie, hashtag Ian is the best tour guide in the whole world. Honestly, that one will get the most likes. It's mainly my mum. And a slap from his wife for stupidity. The towers themselves are purely for decoration. They're just there so it blends in nicely with the Tower of London coming back up on the right. Now, let us return to the Tower of London. It's mostly infamous for being a place of torture, imprisonment and execution. Torture methods there include the thumbscrew, the rag, the scavenger's daughter. People often ask me, Liam, what was the worst form of torture used in Britain? His brain's got talent. You can still see the brig to Benton the Traitor's Gate down there. But did you know that only 7 people were beheaded in the Tower of London? Only 7 beheadings. If you're a mere commoner or you're a peasant, you're actually taken out behind the tower and you're executed in front of a mocking, booing crowd as a form of public humiliation. Only the very rich and important got private execution. At least the idea was meant to be that it was private. People still rocked up to watch it anyway. Now, out of the 7 people beheaded in the grounds of the tower, there were 3 queens of England. 2 of them were wives of Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. And if anyone can tell me the name of the 3rd queen to be beheaded in there as we leave the boat today, I will give you a prize. The prize is called a high five. Here's a clue, not Mary Queen of Scots. Everyone thinks it was. So Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, who was the 3rd queen. When Henry VIII had Anne Boleyn beheaded for treason, witchcraft and adultery with a number of men, including her brother, none of which was probably true, she just couldn't give him the sunny wide, he decided to show her a bit of mercy. He decided not to behead her with an axe. Instead, he beheaded her with a sword. He got a Frenchman in to do it with a sword. How lovely of him. He thought it'd be a nicer way to go. He did not show the same mercy to his 5th wife, Catherine Howard. She'd allegedly had an affair with a man named Thomas Culpeper. She would have seen Culpeper's head decorating Traitor's Gate as she arrived. Also, a previous lover of hers, Francis Derham, was hung, drawn and quartered. Legend says that as she climbed the scaffold to meet her end, her final words were, "I've come to die a Queen of England, but I would rather have died in the light of Culpeper." That's it, guys. Go to the tower. It's incredible. I haven't talked about it all day. I just thought I'd try. You can see the crown jewels in there. They're gorgeous. You can also see the ravens in there. Legend says if they fly away, the kingdom will fall. These are soldiers, so live in the tower and guard the crown jewels. Now they are fantastic. They're really little stuff. They're really funny. Best of all, the tours are free. So what I would say from one tour guide to another, do give them a little tip at the end, because I very much appreciate it. It does keep the service going. We've actually had about 3 people get on this boat who claim to be the reincarnation of Anne Boleyn. I mean, they can't all be right, so yeah. Anyway, the HMS Belfast that we just got back by on the left. Now, it was built in 1930. It was the largest ever cruise to serve in the Second World War, arguably the most powerful. The guns at the front of the fire distance of 14 miles. She was 11,500 tons, took part in the D-Day landings, battled on Russian convoys, and helped to sink one of Hitler's favourite warships, the Scharnhorst. Guys, here's my top hint of the day. Do you see the walkie-talkie skyscraper over here on the right? Do you see the big balcony at the top of it? Well, that is the Sky Gardens. Now, there's a beautiful restaurant bar there. It's free entry to get inside. And honestly, I think the view up there for free is far superior than the view you get from this building on the left, which is the Shard of Glass. Tallest building in Western Europe at 309 metres tall. You've got a 5-star Shangri-La hotel there, restaurants, viewing galleries, and luxury apartments which you can't buy if you've got the £47 million to spend on them. And if you get 47 million to spend on it, it's very, 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 very important that you know I am currently free and single. Please come and find me there on the cruise. On the right, in between the gap of the buildings in a moment, you will see a large monument with a golden orb at the top. It is Sir Christopher Wren's monument to the Great Fire of London, a place that Londoners have come to watch the city being rebuilt. On the night of the 2nd of September 1666, a bakery that is 64 feet away from that 64-foot column went up in flames on Pudding Lane. The fire then spread uncontrollably across the northern bank of the city on your right. By the time it was done, 3 days later, it had destroyed 80% of the medieval city of London. Out of the 80,000 people living in the city, 70,000 were made homeless and 6 people lost their lives. Only 6? Yeah, it's still debated by some historians, but if those official records are historically true, then more people died building the monument to the Great Fire than actually died in the fire itself. Going from fire to ice, at one point the river would freeze over down here, probably because of the medieval underbridge, which had a number of archways, also had houses on it, 6 of the stories now, a big church in the middle, but we were able to have stairs along the River Thames. We had carnival stores, we had ice skating, fire eating, juggling, we even had an elephant walking across the river at one point. The last frost there was in 1834. The river has sadly never frozen over since then, or never frozen over, I suppose, depending on your point of view. The blue building over on the left, that is the site of the Old Clink Jail, one of the oldest dungeons in England. But torture, misery and woe took place in there. It's now a Starbucks. Do not look to the right. Do not look to the right. On the right, there is a spa. There's sometimes naked people at the window. So do not look to the right. Every single one of you just look to the right. You cheeky bunch. The bridge you're going underneath, by the way, is Canistry Railway Bridge. It is quite frankly the ugliest bridge in the world, so I've got nothing else to say about it. It's gross. Bridge in front of us, a lovely bridge, Southwark Bridge. This is my favourite bridge, because that's what happens when you go to a guide to get favourite bridges. But yeah, this is my favourite. It's got a very sad nickname though, this old Southwark Bridge. It's nicknamed the Lonely Bridge. That's because no main roads come to this bridge. It's actually very difficult to find. It's technically the least used bridge in London. So do you see that person that's walking across it right now? They are lost. He's also in Mary Poppins. Mr. Banks walks across it on his way out to work to get fire. It's a standard Victorian London bridge. First, I talk to you more about the modern globe theatre coming back up on the left. It was a brainchild of a man named Sam Wanamaker, and that film director from America. And he was very upset when he came to London to discover there was no more to commemorate William Shakespeare in this area. And so they rebuilt the Globe Theatre using the same methods and materials as the original. It is the only theatre you will find in London, as they were banned after the Great Fire. Watching a Shakespeare performance now is as close as you're going to get to seeing what one would have been performed like when Shakespeare himself was crowned. It's £5 for the cheapest ticket. You stand in the courtyard like the groundlings the peasants would have done in the olden days. You're in amongst the actors as a performer. It would be really good fun. Performances kick off in there on April the 23rd, which was Shakespeare's birthday, and it was also his death day. Yeah, he died on his birthday. It's a little bit dramatic, isn't it? Appropriate, I suppose, but yeah. As with most things to do with Shakespeare's life, we don't really know what he died of. It was a bit of a mystery. Some historians still debate as to whether Shakespeare died of tuberculosis. Yes. TB or not TB? That is the question. Any Harry Potter fans on board? Give me a big woo! You might recognise the bridge you're about to go underneath, the Millennium Bridge, destroyed in the movie version of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by the Death Eaters. Dan, you regularly played Harry Potter went to school, and you're right, the City of London School for Boys. Now the bridge is nicknamed the Waterloo Bridge. That's because it opened up in the year 2000, it was only open for a day and a half, and then they had to shut it down to fix it. It was swaying from side to side, as much as 8 inches side to side, causing people walking over the bridge turning over the edge and vomit into the river. Now they asked the designer Lord Norman Foster why is it built as a walking bridge makes people sick, and he said, how very dare you. It has nothing to do with my bridge, it has nothing to do with my design, it's to do with the way the people of London walk. How good can one get, eh? So here we are, bobbing along at Blackfriars, bobbing the Blackfriars words. What can I tell you about this area? They have actually found a couple of shipwrecks down here. They have found one from the Romans, but the columns of the old bridge were so deeply embedded in the mud that to get rid of them, you would have had to use dynamite, which would have damaged the bridges at the side. So instead, someone came up with a clever idea of putting these columns all red and walking through the stick where they are. True story, no, I'll tell you the true story for all my Harry Potter fans. It's an invisible bridge. Book the Hogwarts Express from across the platform 9 and 3 quarters. So if you saw the Hogwarts Express today, well done. You are a wizard. Or you must know one of the sisters. Now we should be saying something funny going on the right of this very cool set. Pretty sure you don't need to lose any more detail about that, do you? If you're interested in a Victorian sewage system, you've got good old events on this thing. So yeah, it was smelly at one point. Parliament refused to do any work in the exhibition. What do you think of the water in the Thames, by the way? Mucky? Dirty? That's what? And have a lovely little chat. Yes, I'll be rolled. Not a lot to do with famous Cleopatra, like I say. Why is it called Cleopatra, Peter? There's a couple of possible reasons. She did have a move from Heliopolis to Alexandria to stand aside as Caesarean tree building to commemorate her lovers, Mark Antony and Julius Caesar. However, arrived a number of years after her infamous suicide, so it's more likely it's called Cleopatra. You know, it was built, but no, sorry, because it was brought over here on a barge that was built to bring it over, called the Cleopatra. That was tied up to another ship, the Olga. This was on the mid-1800s. On the way hitting around a serious storm, and 6 sailors lost their lives getting legal sails. How do you know we found a pharaoh in Egypt last week? It was very odd. He was lying in a sarcophagus and he was completely covered in chocolate and nuts. They think it's Pharaoh Rocher. My mate told me that. Totally off topic as well, not entirely off topic, but nothing to do with London. But just to mention Julius Caesar a little earlier, I found this interesting. I was reading the other day, he actually got kidnapped by pirates at one point, and he got a ransom on him, and he asked his captain, how much have you ransomed me for? And he was really insulted because he felt that he was worth more money. So he convinced them to release the ransom. Love that. And then over on the right, you've got this beautiful French chateau-style building, like Fairy Tale Palace and Whitehall Court, named after the Palace of Whitehall that once existed on this area. All the remains that palace is the banqueting hall outside which is 2,000 hidden and Cardinal Wolsey's wine cellar under the ground. So the Royal Horse Guards Hotel inside that building today, you get a great afternoon view there. Continuing over on the right, you've got the Golden Eagle statue, the RAF Memorial Monument, built to commemorate the lives of the First and Second World War. It's made out of shaft and it faces towards France from many London parish. Behind it is our Ministry of Defence, the white building with the green roof. And that's because 2 thirds of that building was into the ground. So there's no politics up there, which makes it down the street and Houses of Parliament. The Ministry of Defence complained with the London Eye being built. They said, no, we're not to build the London Eye. If the US spies are going to be gods of the eye, they used binoculars, they won't throw windows, and they will steal state secrets. They took it to court to stop the eye from being built, and the judge said to the Ministry of Defence, just 5 curtains. And of course, Big Ben. Why can you not see Big Ben, guys? It's because it's not the name of the clock. It's actually the name of the 13.5-ton bell that's inside the tower and chimes upon the hour. Both of the Westminster Transit Clock Tower is called the Elizabeth II Tower. It commemorates Prince Queen's Diamond Jubilee. And where does the name Big Ben come from? Well, it comes from Sir Benjamin Holland, the commissioner of the works when the tower was being built. Now, he's not very popular with his workmates, he was moody, he was grumpy, and he was that. He enjoyed his cake and pie and chocolate. And when the bell arrived, his workmates took one look at the bell, they took one look at Sir Benjamin, and they said, "Oi, Ben, that bell is just as big as you." Hence the name Big Ben was born from Sir Benjamin. All I can say about that, thank God his name wasn't Richard. Have a think about that. And then the London Eye, 135 metres tall, that's the equivalent of 33 double-decker buses stacked one on top of the other. Designed by Julia Barker and David Marks, husband of my architect team. Opened up in the year 2000 as a Millennium Wheel them on the British Airways London Eye, Easy Vintage London Eye, Coca-Cola London Eye, and we are now, of course, the lastminute.com London Eye. You've got 32 pods up there, one for every borough or district in London. You can do a number of things on the eye. Champagne tasting, you've got a pub pod. You can even get this, you can get married on the London Eye. Yeah, it's lovely. You see your vows on the way up, you see I do it at the top, and then it's all downhill from there. Let's face it, marriage is about 3 rings: the engagement ring, the wedding ring, and the supper ring. Marriage is like playing a game of cards. You start off on the heart and the diamond, and by the end you just want to cover the spade. We're owned by Maryland Entertainment. We like visiting more Maryland attractions in London. We've got Sea Life Aquarium, Ship's Adventure, London Dungeons. We've also got Madame Tussauds and Baker Street. Now guys, please remain seated until we come to a complete close. I will let you know as soon as you're safe to disembark. But when you leave the boat today, please remember to take all your belongings with you, your bag.